What up, Terrapins? Welcome back to the channel. My name is E, and this is Turtle Wandering. Getting ready for my newest adventure. This weekend, going backpacking for the first time, and super excited. I've been camping a whole bunch. Y'all know I do a lot of hiking, cycling, stuff like that, but I've wanted to kind of take it to that next level where I would either try some bike packing or some backpacking. So this weekend, doing the whole backpacking thing. Joining me on the adventure will be some of my friends from Afros in Nature. So Dwight, who you've met before, and Timothy, who you've also met before. Both of them are much more experienced, and Dwight also has experience having served in the military. So I'm definitely in good hands this weekend and really looking forward to it. And so this is my backpack for the weekend. The nice thing is I was actually given the backpack by a gentleman who no longer is able to backpack anymore. So he was looking to give away gear, and I was able to get hooked up with him through social media. So got this really nice, it's a 60-liter pack, which is pretty big. And then on the outside, I have one of the two sleeping pads that I'm going to use. So that's going to be the base layer one, and then I have a second thermal pad to go over it. This is like a fleece sleeping bag, which I'll use as an extra layer because, again, petrified I'm going to be cold. And then everything else that I'll need for the weekend, the little bit of clothes, my sleeping bag, my tent, my food, all of that is inside of the bag. And then over on the side here are sitting my trekking poles, and then I do have a small camp chair that I'm going to bring along with me as well. All right, we have safely arrived. Let the weekend fun and or chaos begin. Nice. We are locked, loaded, and ready to go. Let's do this thing. Seems I've found myself a beach. I wonder if in the summertime people do sit there and soak.
Oh, probably.
Looks like a great soaking spot. Alright, so far we've hiked about 4 miles. We've got about a mile to go, and then we'll be able to set up our first camp for the night. So far so good. A little bit of elevation, but it hasn't been too bad. I definitely are enjoying using trekking poles on a long hike for the first time. I can't imagine doing this without it. So far so good, and we'll check in when we get to camp. Checking maps, and it looks like we've got about half a mile to go. So we've got a rock garden that is right over there that we need to climb up, and it'll probably be somewhere shortly after that, and then we'll be able to set up camp for the first night. All right, we've arrived at the area of backpacker campsite number 2. So we're just gonna kind of wander down and find a spot and set up camp. But looks good. Whew, you definitely tell we're up at Ridgeline. Alright, I'll set up here in my accommodations for the evening. Since we're up on the top of the ridge, the temperatures have definitely gotten a little bit chillier. There's some definite wind going on, but comfortable. Dwight went out to go get some water with his bladder and filter, and it seems Timothy is running his way on the trail, so he should be meeting us probably in the next hour or so. And once we do that, then we'll kind of get going with dinner, and then pretty much it's just chilling the rest of the night. So got some stuff downloaded, so I'm just going to kind of probably relax, listen to some podcasts along with just listening to the sweet sounds of nature. And so I think I'm just going to kind of wrap up for this, and we'll see y'all in the morning, folks. Good morning, everyone. It is cold. The temperatures dipped about 2 hours ago, and I was comfortable till about then, and I've been pretty cold since then, so I'm actually like even shivering a little bit. But it's 7, so it's a good time to get up and get moving, and hopefully that'll help, and then, you know, things will warm up. But definitely got to think about my plan for tonight, because it's supposed to be similar to this, I think, most of the night. So, yep, time to get up, get the day started, and get it moving. So, next step, back to the trail soon. Little coffee and some breakfast, and feel a little bit better. I think moving helped a lot. It's supposed to warm up about 10 degrees as we go along, but starting to pack up shop, and then we'll get moving on the road. So it'll probably take us about a half hour to pack up everything, and then we'll probably be able to get moving right about 9 o'clock, and then get hiking. And it's a about 8-mile day today. So this is why they refer to Pennsylvania as Rocksylvania, because this has been what we've been hiking for, I'd say, the last half hour, and I guess it stays like this until we get past the lake.
Campsite that looks very much like a campsite.
All right, we got past all the super rocky stuff, so now we're just at the average rocky stuff. Such a beautiful view. Gorgeous. Sign says no camping. There was a campfire right there. Like a good campfire as much as the next person, but not at the extent of burning down the forest. Creek crossing time. Up on the ridge now, so we'll be up here for a while. You can tell the temperatures have definitely gotten a little bit cooler, and it's a lot windier up here. Being the the weather, we're getting almost like little pieces of sleet as opposed to any sort of raindrops. Taking a short break on this outcropping. It's a nice spot, beautiful views, and it's a good place where you can actually sit and keep your pack on, but take all the weight off your pack with your back at the same time. So it's definitely a good spot. Extremely pretty. Got about a mile, give or take, to where we're going to camp, and I'm not going to lie, we're beat. So it's going to feel good to be able to take this bad boy off and set up camp tonight, and hopefully that means I'll sleep well too. So got another mile yet to go. Made it to the camping spot. So tired. So just kind of sitting for a few minutes and then set up camp and get food going, because it's definitely been a long day. I think we put in about 6 hours, so with weighted packs, so definitely feeling it. So now it's this time to relax and enjoy the rest of the night. I would imagine it would be. Alright, morning folks. It is Sunday, so last day of the trip. Slept better last night. Changed a couple things around, and that seemed to help a lot. And Timothy loaned me a sleeping bag liner, which I also think was a huge help. I got a little twisted in it, but it definitely added another 10 degrees, because it was colder this morning than it was even the first night, but I felt a lot better. So I think we're going to make a game night decision. We're only about a mile from the Mohegan Center, which is kind of our endpoint. So we may take a short hike that will kind of slack pack to see a view, or we may head back. Kind of depends. I think the guys want to see the view personally. I'm a little sore, so we'll see what gets decided. But almost made it to the end. All right, so we've all had some coffee and warmed up a little bit, but outside it's not warming up at all. So we're gonna skip looking at the tower and find a nicer day for that, because who knows what the winds will be like up there as well. So we're just kind of packing up camp and getting ready to do the last little hike out to grab some breakfast and then head home. Good, how are you? Hey, we made it. Hey y'all, so it's a full week since the backpacking trip, and had some time to relax, unpack, de-stress, let the muscles relax, and figured that made a good time for me to do my final reflections on the trip. Bottom line, I had a great time. As I've said before, Dwight is a stellar dude. Timothy is also a stellar human being, so I couldn't have had two better companions based on the fact that, one, they already know what they're doing, and two, they're just wonderful people to be around and have conversations with. The other thing too is that the reality is they are so much faster than I am, and that being said, they were absolutely spectacular about keeping a pace that was comfortable for me and not feeling like it needed to be pushed or anything. You know, one of the things that I would do is if they were stopping to take pictures, because I think I've mentioned before they're both also into photography like I am, I would just kind of keep going because I knew then that they could catch up. And on Saturday, you know, Timothy even got to run ahead because we were concerned that the spot that we wanted might get taken, and we wanted to make sure that at least we had a spot. Like, we didn't mind sharing, but we at least wanted to make sure that we had a spot to set up our tents, considering Saturday was pretty brutal. Now, what were the things that I'm glad that I did pre-op? One of them, definitely, I am glad that I borrowed equipment as opposed to buying, because there are some changes that I want to make, and it was good to learn that without investing a bunch of money and then being worrying about taking things back and exchanging. You know, recognizing that organizations like REI and a few other of the outdoor places are pretty generous with their exchange policies, but it's still a pain because we don't have a whole lot of outdoor outfitters close by. Of the equipment that I'm glad that I did purchase, it was all actually little stuff. So like the thermal booties for bedtime were absolutely like clutch, and I think they were 16, 17 bucks. You can get more expensive ones. I know the ones that like Dwight was wearing had a slightly nicer bottom for walking around in, so given the choice, that might be a better choice for some folks. I might consider getting a pair like that in the future, because there were a few times, especially like in the early morning, where I was just like, ugh, I don't want to put my shoes on. So that would have been nice to have something like that. But that being said, because I didn't walk in mine, they also stayed cleaner, which then meant my sleeping gear stayed cleaner. Also, the mini pump that I purchased, that I'd seen on a bunch of videos from Dan Becker, and that was also absolutely clutch. It made inflating my air pillow and my air mattress so much quicker that I didn't have to like breathe into them. None of us had the cinch bag thing, so it was more of the old school method, but having the pump was really nice, especially since it's got a little light, so then I could just kind of hang that and have some extra light in my tent. So those were definitely some of my favorite purchases. Now, what do I need to invest in the future? Definitely a sleeping bag. The one I used for the weekend was great for what it was, but it was significantly older. The loft wasn't, definitely lost a lot of life in it. I'm glad I packed the fleece sleeping bag that I also was sleeping in, and then the second night having that silk liner that Timothy loaned me also was super valuable because I was so cold. So having those was like really great. Other things, definitely need to get fitted for a backpacker pack that fits me, and doing it weighted. I'm discovering that I'm having a hard time figuring out how to get that dialed in, and I really want to spend some time at a place where they can help me do that so that I can be much more comfortable on the trail, especially since I do have an ongoing hip issue, and I've also had a history of back issues, so I really want to make sure that whatever I'm wearing is going to feel good. Super glad I brought the trekking poles because those came in clutch, and I can see why people hike with them, and I think I'm going to hike with them a lot more regularly, especially going downhill. Honestly, I think even the Mammoth March, which, as you know, did not go well, would have been easier if I'd had trekking poles, so lesson learned there. And I did buy a pair of boots. I mean, honestly, my hiking shoes, which are trail runners, worked out just fine for me, but considering that I'm going to continue to do some rockier terrain, I think having, you know, a little bit more of a boot and a little bit more ankle protection would be clutch. But in summary, again, I had a great time. I've definitely been bit now by the backpacking bug. I don't know if I'm ready to take off like through hiker life. I think weekend trips, maybe 3 or 4 days so far, is kind of where I'm at with it, but definitely have the bug, and looking forward to doing more of it, even trying some bike packing now that I have some of the equipment later on this summer. So hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed doing it with everyone, and once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Later, Terrapins.